choice. Like, of course, you are free if you are a woman to go fat and ugly or whatever. But if you do it, you pay a terrible price. You exclude yourself from the sexual market and so on and so on. Like, many choices that we are given are effectively forced choices. This would be, one level. Then there is that, what I already mentioned, culturalization of politics and so on and so on. I accept this as a critique. I also accept, again, this problematic nature of the freedom of choice. How, for example, you remember this old debate of the Amish who protested when multiculturalist liberals claim, we just want your children to go to normal Englishmen, Amish refer to like this, I was told to non-Amish neighbors. We want to give them only freedom of choice, which they will learn in our school, the same elementary education as others. But Amish were right to point it out that the moment you do this, you already change them substantially. Like, because the whole attitude towards community changes and so on and so on. In other words, in order to make out of a subject the subject of a freedom of choice, in this liberal sense, you already have to undermine his communal identity and change him into a liberal subject. Then, of course, he may have the freedom of choice, but it's no longer authentic Amish culture. It's just to make a parallel out of authentic Amish identity, which is like, let's make a Chinese identity, eating Chinese food because it is part of your tradition. If you remain Amish, you remain an Amish who, instead of Italian food, prefers, I don't know, Chinese restaurant. It's no longer substantial. But now I come to my central concluding point. The fundamental problem with Wendy Brown and critics of this liberal universal human right and freedom of choice and subject as universal subject is somewhere else. They, I claim, remain caught in a certain too primitive pseudo-Marxist logic of critique of ideology, which is the procedure of denouncing the false universality. This big motive of what appears to be a neutral universal notion then is in reality or really privileges a certain culture, strata of people, like this standard topic, Human rights are really not universal human rights. They secretly give preference to, not only to our civilization, but to male, white, and of certain property people in our civilization. The logic is, for example, it can be shown, of course, that it is like this. And it is true that if you read closely the discourse of human rights, it always had this catch. Like, human rights are natural to every man. But then they add insofar as he or she truly is a reasonable human man. And then you start, Women, sorry, too passive, too confused, they are out, Workers, they have to work too hard, they don't have time to really reflect, think, they are out. Children are out, savages are out, criminals are out. You go on, But I claim two things should be opposed to this. First, this is only one side of the story. Of course, there is a gap between, let's say, an ideological fiction of universal human rights and how they truly function. But nonetheless, this very gap has its very positive aspects. It opens us a space for rewriting of it. Of course, they were primordially fully only the rights of white males and so on. But wait a minute, we know the story. First, Mary Wollstonecraft, why not us women? Then, for me, the most noble event of French Revolution which took place in Haiti, Haiti Revolution. Immediately, the blacks said, why not us? And so on and so on. So that's my first counter-argument. The second, absolutely crucial one, now I come to my point, is that if you read closely the great idealist tradition of Hegel and so on, which is fully assumed even by Marx, it's that this is only one side of the story, this denouncing universality as false universality. We also have the opposite mystification, which is much more interesting, which is something that you perceive or think it's only your particular interest is already a tool for the actualization of universality, in the sense that you see the nicety. It's not that formal universality masks, your particular interest. It's the opposite. Your particularity must, or you are not aware of the universal dimension of what you are doing. I mean, this is what Hegel calls the cunning of reason. You think you follow your narrow interests, you don't see the universal consequences of your acts. This is in what Marx sees the greatness of capitalism, in the sense that you think you are working for your profit, but capitalism has its own universal dimension, is actually universal, which is why I think it's totally wrong to play this game, capitalism is Eurocentric, and so on. It is not. It is universal. In what sense universal? In the strict Hegelian sense. That is to say, and that's crucial, this is, I think, what all these post-colonial critics who play this game, they pretend to be universal, but they are not, what they miss. As a capitalist subject, you are universal not in the sense that you are up in the air universal, but in the sense that in your own individual self-experience, you relate yourself to yourself as universal. To primitive example, which I repeat all the time. Let's say we are in medieval society. You encounter there a knight. You ask him, what are you doing? It would be totally meaningless for a knight to answer, my profession is being a knight or a serf. Why? Because he didn't perceive himself the way we perceive ourselves based on the notion of profession, which means I am in myself an abstract, universal individual in the sense of what I am in my particular identity, a professor, this, that. It's basically something contingent, not, as it were, part of my nature. You know, this corporatist vision of society where we each have our role to play, you look into you just have to discover your inner divine vocation. This is, so you need, that's for Marx true universality, where you yourself experience yourself as in the core of your being universal. In this sense, capitalism is effectively universal, in the sense that whenever it spreads, it from within undermines each culture. I mean, Chinese are now finally discovering it in a very cynical way that, they tried for 30 years, whatever, to destroy Tibetan identity. First, they did it in a primitive way, ruining their all those violence, destroying temples, terrorizing people. It didn't work. Now they discovered with a simple capitalism it works much better. People are still Tibetan Buddhists, but as all the Tibetans I've met, couple of them told me, but the spirit is going out. Their Buddhism is no longer the substantial way of life. It's allowed as a kind of a private almost. A Buddhist told me very nicely, it's a hobby. Like after work, one builds models, the other watches pornography. I'm a Tibetan Buddhist, no? I mean, it's socially neutralized. This is the actual universality of capitalism, and I claim we should accept it. There is no liberation outside of it. I think that authentic multiculturalism happens with people like Descartes. I think still this is the big manifesto of modernity which we should assert. When Descartes says in the beginning of his, I think, meditations, first, foreign cultures appeared crazy, idiosyncratic, stupid to me, but then I asked myself, what if, when I'm viewed from through a foreign gaze, I also must appear to them stupid, idiosyncratic, and so on. This is, I think, the core of modernity. This experience of your own identity, particular identity, as not stupid, you don't have to hate it, but as ultimately something contingent. And I claim, again, that there is no authentic liberation. There is even no feminism, I claim. The only feminism you get outside modernity is this primitive yin-yang feminism, like we should reassert also the feminine aspect or whatever. Of course you reassert it, but look closely how. They are down the foundation where the men stand, and so on. So I claim that this now brings me back to the official topic of what I was saying today, the neighbor. I claim that the way to break out of this eternal Levinasian problematic, neighbor, abyss, otherness, should we respect it or not, this is basically, and tolerate it or not, it's a false problem. We should embrace this radical universality and approach it how? Not